throw down. Heartbeats racing, can't slow down. Feel the tension, feel the heat. Emotions hitting on repeat. Wrestling win with our inner fight. In the spotlight
Welcome to Wrestling with Emotions. I am your host, Rob. I hope you're having a great start to your day. We are recording this. This is Saturday morning on the East Coast, and it is Money in the Bank Day. We are going to be talking about the show tonight, a little bit of a lead-in from last night, and the SmackDown final episode before the go-home show, basically, for Money in the Bank. Not too many changes, just kind of setting some stuff up for tonight. If you're not familiar with the concept of Money in the Bank at this particular point, just to quickly recap, a briefcase will be held above the ring, and I believe I think there's 4 people in each match, yeah? Maybe 5? Let's see. But either way, the suspended briefcase is a one-way ticket to a championship cash-in, and they can cash it in at any particular point. So it basically is a guaranteed title chance whenever they so choose. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people in each individual, or 6 people in each ladder match. There'll be a women's match. There'll be a men's match. So last year, if you remember, just to quickly recap, on the men's side, it was Drew McIntyre who won the Money in the Bank ladder match. And I was looking through this, and I saw that Andrade was already back this time last year. What an underwhelming return, right? Maybe he's happy with it, but I know, all the fanfare and all the behind the scenes back stuff on Twitter and whatnot, kind of trashing AEW and trying to get him out of there. And that he's already been here a year and hasn't done much. I was very surprised to know that he was in that match. And I think the overwhelming favorite, if I remember last year, was LA Knight. And that didn't happen. That didn't work out. So a lot of these opportunities and matches are cool because it's a swerve in a sense that you usually have an idea sometimes of who you think is going to win, but they usually, change that up and deviate to somebody else to kind of put a little bit of a rocket on somebody else's back, so to speak. And then on the women's side, of course, Tiffany Stratton won Money in the Bank on the women's side. With that said, while she was successful in cashing in her contract, it was Damian Priest who was thwarted by CM Punk when he tried to Drew McIntyre rather, who was thwarted by CM Punk when he tried to cash it in against Damian Priest and Seth Rollins in that match at WrestleMania. So, it used to be in the beginning, I think it was very, very much a flawless record in terms of like cash-in percentages of turning into new champions. So I think it kind of hit a swerve around one part of the John Cena era. I can't remember if it was Damian Sandow specifically, or if maybe even John Cena had won it and failed to cash in. I can't recall, but that kind of started the trend of like, oh, it's not always a guarantee that someone's going to be the next champion. Because in the beginning it was, okay, oh, this is the next world champion. This is the next, the next person that they're going to be really pushing hard. So tonight we have 4 matches. Last year we got 4 matches as well. So the card, we'll start with the Money in the Bank matches themselves. On the women's side, you have Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vacour, and I hopefully I'm saying her name right. Julia, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. Very cool. I think, with the exception of, Alexa, Rhea, of course, and Naomi have all been in these types of matches. So it'll be new with the 3 new, relatively newer NXT call-ups, Stephanie, Julia, and Roxanne. All 3 established, and of course even more so with Stephanie and Julia with all their international experience. I think Roxanne was working on the indies a little bit too. But either way, that's the women's. We'll talk maybe predictions here in a little bit too. Then on the men's side, you have Seth Rollins LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, Andrade again, Penta, and El Grande Americano. Um, and then the other two matches that'll be in between probably these matches, and I think the last one will close out the show, is you have another round of Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch. This one is for the Intercontinental Championship on the women's side, of course. Hopefully putting a pin in this feud. And we'll come back to, like I said, the predictions for the Money in the Bank matches, but let's just talk about this one right now. I've seen a lot of clips online of like of Bailey training, etc. I think maybe this is an opportunity for her to return. I think that would be a really cool plot twist, because the rest, it's very tough to kind of swing things in a more exciting way on a 4-match card that's relatively, the matches themselves for the briefcases, the excitement itself is who wins those matches. And if there's outside interference or whatever to help kind of drive that, that's usually a touch point. But for the most part, you're excited to understand like who's winning and who's won. The other two matches, like I said, Lyra, Becky. The third wheel in that match, who hasn't been on TV since before WrestleMania, is Bailey. So for her to return would kind of set the night on a certain course. And then, of course, the final match, what I think the final match and finale of the night will be, you have a tag team match with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. This closed out SmackDown last night. It was a beatdown basically from the Cena Logan Paul side onto Cody and Jey. And typically when you have closes to matches or nights like that, it typically kind of sways or gives you an idea of what the night or the pay-per-view will look like, or the PLE. So wouldn't be surprised if Cody and Jey go over in this match, but at the same time, it's kind of hard to predict what's going on with that and what happens next, really, right? Because if John only has a certain amount of appearances, I doubt he'll continue to partner up with Logan. It wouldn't make any sense. I think, they split again, and then August. What is the June, or what is the July WWE PLE? And we'll talk about some new ones that were announced too. King of the Ring is coming back, and that will finalize overseas in Saudi Arabia as well at the Night of Champions. That's the next one actually, and that's actually this month. It's crazy. So the 28th of this month is Night of Champions, and then we got Saturday's main event, Evolution, July 13th. That's a women's centralized pay-per-view that'll be in Atlanta, and then SummerSlam is August 2nd, August 3rd. So a lot of WWE, and if you're looking at this, tonight is also on NXT, the Worlds Collide. Maybe I'll try to catch that early. I don't watch NXT at all, but it would be interesting to kind of see what that looks like. But anyways, a lot of action packed into like a quick month and a half, 2-month span. A lot of wrestling on top of AEW too. So, and a lot of that's obviously by design from a counter programming standpoint. But let's talk about two of the other matches. So I think I want to say Cody and Jey will go over in this match, but I can also see some type of outside interference or something else to maybe drive, the story forward. Cody, of course, getting screwed again in some particular way. And then I think Jey will probably take the pin on this. Maybe Cody. Lyra and Becky, I can see Becky winning this, turning the championship over to her, and maybe there's some shenanigans with Bailey, like I mentioned. But as far as the Money in the Bank winners, these ones are kind of tough to pick. From a storyline standpoint, I could see Seth Rollins, of course, winning this with outside interference from the Bronze, easily. I could see maybe LA Knight getting his win since he didn't get it last year. But they keep pushing El Grande Americano as well onto people. I think really Andrade, Penta, and El Grande, Chad Gable. I think they're more in it this match for the particular spots versus them being the heir to the briefcase. On the women's side, a little bit more difficult to pick. I think the easy route would say that Rhea would retain or win Money in the Bank. But at the same time, like you have so many new faces in this, and then you have, of course, whatever's going on with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair on the outside. Man, this is so tough to pick. I would want to see Stephanie win this, Stephanie Vacour. I think she's freaking awesome. Um, so I could see and would like to see her win this match. So that's, I mean, that's quick and dirty, but that's Money in the Bank. How long have we been going? Oh my God, 10 minutes. Well, let's talk about some other things quickly. Some news, rumors, and other things. Um, a lot of unrest, it seems like, in the WWE universe, both from the fan side and it seems like from folks in the back. There's a lot of, I think, and this is kind of like the unfortunate side of, we talked about this last time in in small dose of the TKO um, influence in decision making. So a lot of everything in the corporate environment um, is comes down to from a financial standpoint what makes sense and what doesn't. And that's why when you're seeing and hearing a lot of these contracts, it's not typically that are either, and the difference between, so there's been a number of recent releases, but the reality is they weren't true releases. I think for the majority of them, for example, like R-Truth, Carlito, Shotzi, I think they were specifically not getting their contracts renewed. So there's a difference, obviously, where they're just not picking up the option to re-sign them. And then I think in some cases, and it's surfaced recently on you know Coachman's podcast or whatever his name is, Jonathan Coachman, that they had actually, or someone had actually offered R-Truth a chance to stay, but he would have had to take a pay cut in order to do so, and it just didn't make sense for him. So he opted to not do that, and they let him know that they're not going to retain him. So there's a lot of that, regardless of whether someone's a fan favorite, someone that you really enjoy, or someone who's been there forever. If it's financially not going to make sense, you're going to see different changes, and it's not always going to be in the best interest of the fans, it seems like. I even saw something early yesterday, and I can't confirm or deny whether it's true or not, but it looks as if they've even started to talk or have conversations with Roman Reigns to renegotiate, I guess, the which is insane, $15 million a year contract that he has with all the limited dates that he works, etc. So it's going to be very interesting to see, because I think the impression of what you're reading and what you're hearing is that this is just the beginning in many of these cases. And you know, the big news, or one of the stories this week early, was, of course, Mariah May, who knows what her name will be in WWE, but showing up in NXT at the end of that broadcast. This is on the heels, of course, of Stephanie, Julia, and Roxanne moving to the full-time rosters for both SmackDown and Raw. So it seems like one in, one out, and then they released a few other NXT ladies and talent to make room, it seems like. So it seems like it's going to be one of those like one in, one out situations where they're not just going to spend wildly. They have to be able to justify it. And then if someone else is on the roster that's making, X amount of money, they have to be able to justify keeping them and bringing somebody else in. And that is the corporate world. So unfortunately, I think you're going to see some people start to switch brands, which will be good in a sense and bad for the fans. Talent, I think, obviously and this is again why a company like an AEW, and I would say TNA as well, but TNA is basically a WWE farm system at this particular point. It seems like, they now at least have options of places to go. So a lot to consider when you're thinking about some of the futures of these companies in terms of who will be where. So I think it'll be good from a fan standpoint because you're not going to know who's going to show up where. But with that said, we have that going on. And then on the AEW side, we had a 4-hour Fighter Fest, which I thought was terrific from top to bottom. And then, of course, the big news coming out of that was that we have announced now officially for All In Texas. Is it All In? Yeah, it's All In. I keep getting confused between All In and All Out. All In Texas, we now have another match announced, and that's Kenny Omega versus Okada again. I think it's part 5. And this is going to be awesome. And just like I said a couple of months ago, these guys should go head to head one more time at this event and combine the titles, because it's very confusing as to the difference between the two of the titles either way. But this is going to be awesome. So now you have 3 matches officially announced for this. You have Hangman Adam Page versus Jon Moxley. You have Tony Storm versus Mercedes Moné. And now you have Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. So 3 matches of what's to, and many more awesome ones to come. By the looks of it, and just from the television work, it seems like we're going to get Swerve versus Ospreay one more time, just for some of the backstory stuff that they're doing. But there's a lot of potential still for a lot of great matches to join this card. But hey, today's all about Money in the Bank. I hope you guys watch. We'll probably do a recap show, or at least like a quick, drop our thoughts on it. But like I said, I just wanted to jump in here really quickly, preview the show. Have a great night. Let me know in the comments, who do you think is going to show up tonight? Who do you think is going to win? And do you think that the winners will actually cash in successfully, and when might that happen? We talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago, that the rumor was like Triple H was not a super fan of the briefcase itself. So we'll see what happens. I like it. I think it's a great, I think the fans love it, of course. And I still got to watch that one from COVID where they did it at the headquarters on the roof. Maybe I'll watch that today. But enjoy your time. I'm going to pop this up on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, Wrestling with Emotions. We're on Spotify. If you can, show us a little love there with a review. And again, subscribe on YouTube. This will pop up with video. And I hope you have a great night. Enjoy the show.
Out in the ring where we throw down, heartbeats racing, can't slow down. Feel the tension, feel the heat, emotions hitting on repeat. Wrestling win with our inner fight. In the spotlight every night. Voices shout and bodies clash. In this world emotions crash. Tangled up in thoughts we spin, in the chaos we begin, finding strength that's deep inside, facing fears we cannot hide. Wrestling win with our inner fight. In the spotlight every night. Voices shout and bodies clash. In this world emotions crash. Every grapple, every hold tells a story to be told. Raw and real and full of fire, pushing through the darkest mire. wrestling with our inner fight. In the spotlight